I'll never forget the moment my entire world shattered. Not at my parents' funeral 3 days ago. No, that came later, sitting in a leather chair across from Mr. Harrison, our family lawyer, watching my little sister Emma's face light up like she'd won the bloody lottery. The office smells like old books and expensive cologne. Everything's polished mahogany and brass fixtures, the kind of place designed to make you feel small. Harrison's behind this massive desk, papers spread out like a battlefield, and Emma's sitting beside me in her black Chanel dress, the one Mom bought her last Christmas. I'm in a high street suit I've had for 5 years. Harrison clears his throat. Professional. Detached. Like he's reading the weather forecast instead of determining the financial future of 2 grieving daughters. And to our beloved daughter, Emma Grace Thompson, he begins, his voice steady and clinical, we leave the family home in Kensington, valued at approximately £2 million. Emma's hand flies to her chest. She gasps softly, but I see it, that flicker in her eyes. She's not surprised. She already knew this was coming. Harrison continues without pause. We also bequeath a holiday cottage in Cornwall, all rental properties generating monthly income, and, he looks up at Emma directly, the sum of £10 million, to be distributed immediately upon probate completion. £10 million. The room tilts sideways. I grip the armrest, so hard my knuckles go white. 10 million. The words echo in my skull like a death sentence. Emma's covering her mouth now, tears in her eyes, playing the shocked younger sister perfectly. But I know her. I've known her for 33 years. That's not shock, it's relief. Then Harrison turns to me. His eyes soften, pity, maybe, and I feel my stomach drop before he even opens his mouth. And to our eldest daughter, here it comes. My inheritance. My acknowledgement. My proof that I mattered to them, that all those years of being told I was the responsible one, the strong one, actually meant something. We leave our love and the confidence that she has always been capable of earning her own way. We trust she will continue to thrive independently, as she always has. The silence is deafening. I'm waiting for him to continue, to say there's a property, or an investment account, or at least a bloody family heirloom. But he's closing the folder. That's it. That's all. Not a single pound. Not one property. Just a patronizing pat on the head dressed up as confidence in my independence. I can't breathe. The walls are closing in. 33 years old, and I've just been told, in legal terms, from beyond the grave, that I'm worth absolutely nothing to my parents. That every sacrifice I made, every time I worked 3 jobs to put myself through university while Emma got her tuition paid in full, every birthday gift I bought them while Emma gave them gift cards bought with their own money, none of it mattered. I'm so sorry, Emma whispers, reaching for my hand. I had no idea they'd. I yank my hand away, so fast she actually flinches. Because that's bollocks and we both know it. She knew. Maybe not the exact figures, but she knew she was getting everything and I was getting nothing. How could she not? I'm halfway out of my chair, ready to storm out and never speak to any of these people again, when Harrison clears his throat again. This time there's something different in his voice. Uncertainty, maybe. Even nervousness. Wait. There's one more thing. I freeze. Emma's gone rigid beside me. Harrison reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a yellowed envelope. His hands are actually shaking slightly as he holds it up to the light. The paper's old, creased, but the handwriting on the front is unmistakable, Grandpa Robert's distinctive scrawl. This was given to me by your grandfather, Robert Thompson, before his death 5 years ago. He left very explicit instructions with our firm that it was only to be opened after both your parents had passed, and only in the presence of both granddaughters. He pauses, looking between Emma and me. He was quite insistent about the timing. The envelope sits on the desk between us like a bomb. Written across the front in Grandpa's hand, to my beloved granddaughters, the truth. Emma's gone pale. Actually pale. The colors drain from her face, and she's gripping the chair like she might pass out. And me. My heart's hammering, so hard I can hear it in my ears. Because I haven't thought about Grandpa Robert in years. We were told he didn't want to see us anymore, that he'd moved away and started a new life when I was 10. Mom said he decided his grandchildren weren't important to him. But this envelope's been sitting in a lawyer's office for 5 years, waiting for this exact moment. Harrison looks at both of us, his expression grave. Your grandfather was very clear. This is to be opened now, before anyone leaves this room. Would you like me to read it, or... Read it? I say, my voice coming out stronger than I feel. Read it now. Emma makes a small sound beside me, protest or fear, I can't tell which. Harrison carefully breaks the seal. The envelope's been sealed for 5 years, but it opens like it was closed yesterday. Inside, there's a handwritten letter, 3 pages of Grandpa's neat, precise handwriting, and a smaller sealed envelope marked legal documentation, debt contract in red ink. Harrison unfolds the letter, adjusts his glasses, and begins to read. And suddenly, I can hear Grandpa's voice in my head, that warm rumble that used to read me bedtime stories when I was small. My dearest girls, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone, and so are your parents. I'm so deeply sorry for what you've just experienced, particularly you, my darling eldest. My throat closes up. Emma's breathing has gone shallow beside me. What happened in that will reading was a travesty, but not a surprise to me. I knew exactly what your parents intended, and I'm afraid I enabled it by staying silent all these years. But I'm not silent anymore. You both deserve to know the truth about your family's wealth, and why that 10 million pounds Emma just inherited isn't quite what it seems. Emma makes a strangled sound. Harrison pauses, looks at her, then continues. 25 years ago, your father's business was failing. Bankrupt. Finished. He came to me in the middle of the night, desperate, begging me to save him. The company was bleeding money, creditors were circling, and he was days away from losing everything, the house, the cars, the lifestyle your mother had grown accustomed to. So I did what any father would do. I lent him 8 million pounds to keep the company afloat. 8 million pounds! In 2000. I'm doing the math in my head, and that's a fortune even by today's standards. We signed a proper contract, Harrison reads, his voice steady despite the tension crackling in the room. Legally binding, witnessed, notarized. The terms were simple. He'd pay me back with 6% annual interest compounded, and if anything happened to him before full repayment, the debt would be settled from his estate before any inheritance distribution. Standard business practice. He signed it. Your mother co-signed it as a guarantor. I'm leaning forward now, every muscle tense. Emma's gone completely still. Your father never paid me back. Not 1 penny. Not 1 pound in 25 years. Instead, 6 months after I gave him that money, after the business stabilized and started turning profit again, he convinced your mother to cut me out of your lives completely. Suddenly, I was forbidden from seeing you, calling you, writing to you. My letters were returned unopened. My calls went unanswered. I was told, through a lawyer, mind you, not even face to face, that my presence was no longer welcome in the family. I'm crying now. Tears are streaming down my face because suddenly everything makes sense. I was 10 years old when Grandpa Robert disappeared from our lives. One day he was there, Sunday dinners, birthday parties, bedtime stories, and the next he was just gone. We were told he decided to move to Spain, that he'd started a new life and didn't want the burden of grandchildren anymore. It was a lie. All of it. They cut him off because he'd asked for his money back. For 20 years I tried, God knows I tried, to be part of your lives. I hired investigators to find out if you were okay. I sent letters to your schools, hoping a teacher might pass them along. I set up trust accounts in your names that your parents couldn't touch. I did everything I could from a distance to make sure you'd be protected. Harrison's voice wavers slightly. He clears his throat and continues. The documentation in this envelope proves everything. Signed contracts, promissory notes, bank transfer records, witnesses, everything legally binding. According to the terms of the contract, the debt must be satisfied before any inheritance distribution. That means before Emma gets a single penny of that 10 million pounds, the estate owes me, or rather, now that I'm gone, owes my estate, the original 8 million pounds plus 25 years of compound interest at 6% annually. Emma's hyperventilating. Actually hyperventilating. She's gasping for air like she's drowning. Harrison looks up from the letter, his expression grave. He doesn't need to do the math. He's already done it. That comes to approximately 32.4 million pounds in today's money. The number hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. 32.4 million pounds. The estate, all of it combined, is worth roughly £15 million, Harrison continues, his lawyer voice kicking in. The house, the cottage, the rental properties, the liquid assets, everything. The debt exceeds the total estate value by more than double. The math hits me like a freight train. Emma's £10 million doesn't exist. It never existed. It's already been spent paying back less than a third of what's owed. The properties will have to be sold. All of them. Everything. And even then, it won't be enough to cover the debt. Emma's getting nothing. Worse than nothing, she's about to watch her entire inheritance evaporate like smoke. I need you both to understand, Harrison reads, Grandpa's voice echoing through him, that I didn't do this out of revenge. I did this because your parents built a system where one daughter was valued and one was disposable, where one was given every advantage and the other was told she was strong enough to survive neglect. That system ends here. I'm sobbing openly now. Emma's staring at the desk like she's trying to will herself into another dimension. The contract is ironclad, Harrison says, setting the letter down and picking up the documentation envelope. I've already had our senior partners review it. Your grandfather was meticulous. Everything's in order. The debt is legitimate, and it takes priority over all bequests in the will. Emma finds her voice, barely. How long did he know? How long was he planning this? Harrison looks at the date on the contract, then at the dates on the correspondence. It appears your grandfather began documenting the debt repayment attempts, or lack thereof, about 15 years ago, shortly after your parents refused his final request for repayment. He spent the last decade and a half of his life making absolutely certain this was airtight. 15 years. 15 years of being shut out of our lives, and he spent that time protecting me from beyond the grave. But Harrison's not done reading. He picks up the letter again, and his voice softens. There's more. Harrison's hands are steadier now as he reads the next section. This part of the letter is addressed directly to me. My name is written at the top in Grandpa's handwriting, underlined twice. My darling girl, Harrison reads, and I can feel Grandpa in the room with me. I've watched your parents favor your sister your entire life. I've seen you overlooked, dismissed, told you were strong enough to manage on your own while Emma got every advantage, every safety net, every bit of support. It broke my heart, but your parents cut me off before I could do anything about it while they were alive. So I made sure you'd be taken care of after they were gone. I'm sobbing so hard I can barely breathe. Emma's staring at her hands, frozen. 15 years ago, I established a private trust fund, completely separate from your parents' estate, in my name alone, money they never knew about because I never told them. I saved, I invested carefully, and I protected it. I put every penny I could spare into making sure that when this day came, you wouldn't be left with nothing. Harrison reaches for another document from the envelope, an official trust agreement with bank stamps and legal seals. The trust contains £5 million, he reads, then looks directly at me, and it has one beneficiary. The world stops. £5 million. I can't process it. Can't comprehend the words. They're just sounds, meaningless syllables that don't connect to reality. You, Harrison says softly, and suddenly it's real. £5 million. I'm a millionaire. Just like that. While Emma, the golden child who's never been denied anything, who's never had to work for anything, who just thought she was inheriting 10 million, is now getting nothing. Zero. Less than zero, actually, because the properties she thought she'd inherited now have to be liquidated to partially satisfy Grandpa's debt. I watch my sister's face crumble in real time. She's hyperventilating, shaking her head, saying no, 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 over and over like a broken record. Part of me, the part that's been second best for 33 years, the part that watched Emma get a brand new BMW for her 18th birthday while I got a bus pass, the part that worked night shifts at Tesco to afford textbooks while Emma's university accommodation was paid in full, that part feels a dark, savage satisfaction. The universe is finally balancing the scales. But another part of me, a part one didn't even know still existed, feels gutted. Because I'm watching my little sister, who I used to build blanket forts with, who I taught to ride a bike, who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms when we were kids, completely fall apart. Harrison continues reading, his voice gentle now. I know this seems cruel, perhaps even vengeful. It's not. It's justice. Your parents created a system where one daughter was valued and one was disposable. I'm correcting that imbalance. Use this money to build the life you deserve, sweetheart. You were always more than enough. You were always worthy of investment, of support, of love. Never let anyone, not your parents, not your sister, not anyone, make you believe otherwise. The room is spinning. Emma's crying now, not delicate tears, but ugly, gasping sobs. She's folding in on herself, arms wrapped around her middle like she's been physically wounded. There's one more thing, Harrison says, and both Emma and I look up. He's holding a USB drive. Your grandfather recorded a video message. He made it about a year before he died. He wanted you to have the option to watch it, but he understood if you weren't ready. It's addressed to both of you. Emma stands abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need to get out of here. I can't. Emma, wait. I start, but she's already heading for the door. Congratulations, she spits, her voice dripping with venom. You finally got what you always wanted. You get to be the victim and the hero. Must feel good, doesn't it? The door slams behind her so hard that a framed degree falls off the wall. I'm left sitting in the leather chair, numb, while Harrison carefully gathers the documents. He's murmuring something about probate and estate liquidation and legal timelines, but I can't focus on any of it. The trust fund is already yours, he says gently. It's not part of your parents' estate, so there's no probate delay. I can arrange for the funds to be transferred to your account whenever you're ready. There's no rush. 5 million pounds. The words still don't feel real. What about Emma? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. What happens to her now? Harrison's expression is carefully neutral, the practiced neutrality of a lawyer who's seen families destroy each other over money more times than he can count. Legally, she's entitled to nothing from your parents' estate once the debt is satisfied. The properties will be sold, the debt will be paid, and whatever's left, if anything, will be divided according to the will's original intentions. But given the size of the debt, it's unlikely there will be any residual assets. He pauses. However, your grandfather's trust fund is entirely yours to do with as you wish. You're under no legal obligation to share it. As I walk out of Harrison's office into the gray London afternoon, I realize something that makes my chest tighten. This isn't the end of the story. This is just the beginning. Because Emma isn't going to accept this quietly. And I'm not sure I can accept it either, not when I know what's coming next. The war between us hasn't started yet, but it's about to. The first 48 hours after the will reading are a blur of texts, voicemails, and social media posts that make my blood run cold. Emma doesn't wait, doesn't pause to think or process or grieve. She goes straight for the jugular. The first post goes up that same evening. Family isn't what you're born into, it's who stands by you when everything falls apart. Some people will do anything for money, even turn their own flesh and blood against you. The comments flood in. Concerned friends, distant relatives, people I haven't seen since primary school suddenly have opinions about my character. What happened, babe? Who hurt you? Stay strong, Emma. Real ones know your worth. She doesn't name me directly. She's too smart for that, but she doesn't need to. Everyone knows. By the next morning, my phone is ringing off the hook. My Aunt Carolyn calls first. I don't know what you've done, she says without preamble. But Emma is absolutely devastated. She told me what happened at the will reading. How you manipulated that lawyer into. I didn't manipulate anyone. I cut her off. Aunt Carolyn, if Emma told you I had anything to do with. She said your grandfather left you everything. That you turned him against your parents years ago. That this was all some long con you've been planning. I actually laugh, a sharp, bitter sound. I haven't seen Grandpa Robert since I was 10 years old. Mom and Dad cut him out of our lives, remember? Or did Emma conveniently leave that part out? Emma says you're lying. That you've been in contact with him this whole time, plotting this. Then Emma's lying to you, I say flatly. And if you believe her without even asking for my side, then that says more about this family than anything else. She hangs up on me. The messages keep coming. Cousins I haven't spoken to in years. Family friends. Even Emma's friends. People I barely know, sending me passive-aggressive messages about doing the right thing and family obligations. But nothing prepares me for day 3, when I go back to Harrison's office to sign some paperwork and find Emma already there. She's been waiting for me, ambushing me. "You knew," she says the moment I walk in, her voice shaking with rage. "You fucking knew about this, didn't you?" Harrison stands immediately. "Miss Thompson, I must ask you to." "Don't." Emma's pointing at me like I'm something contaminated. "Don't you dare play innocent. This is too convenient. They die in a car crash, and suddenly you're a millionaire and I'm left with nothing. You planned this. You and Grandpa planned this together." I'm so stunned I can't even respond. She actually believes it. She genuinely thinks I orchestrated our parents' death. "Emma, that's insane." "Is it?" She's standing now, getting in my face. "You've always been jealous of me. Always resented that Mom and Dad loved me more. Invested in me more. And now they're dead, conveniently, right when you could benefit most from Grandpa's little revenge scheme. They loved you more." The words are out before I can stop them. "They gave you everything, Emma. Every advantage, every opportunity, every penny they had. And you're standing here accusing me of manipulation. You probably tampered with their brakes," she screams, and Harrison is between us now, his hand on Emma's shoulder. "Miss Thompson, that is a serious accusation. If you continue, I'll have to call security. But the damage is done." She said it out loud. She actually thinks I murdered our parents. "Get out," I say quietly. "Get out before I do something we'll both regret." Emma storms out, slamming the door, so hard the windows rattle. The next week is hell. Emma's campaign against me intensifies. She posts cryptic messages about betrayal and blood money. She calls every family member, twisting the story, making herself the victim and me the villain. And it works. God help me, it actually works. Aunt Carolyn calls again, this time to tell me I should be ashamed, and that I have a moral obligation to share my inheritance with my struggling sister. Struggling. I almost laugh. Emma's been living in a luxury Kensington flat that costs £3,500 a month, paid by our parents. She drives a Range Rover, lease paid by our parents. She takes holidays to Bali and Dubai twice a year, funded by our parents. Meanwhile, I've been grinding away in a cramped studio flat in Zone 4, teaching English at a comprehensive school for £32,000 a year, taking freelance editing jobs on weekends just to save enough for a house deposit. But I'm the villain because I won't hand over my inheritance. My cousin Marcus sends a long text about family values and how Grandpa must have been confused in his old age, and how I should do the Christian thing and split the money. Even my best friend Sarah from university, someone I thought knew me, says gently over coffee, "I mean, it is a lot of money. Maybe you could help Emma out. Just to keep the peace. Keep the peace." As if the past 33 years of being overlooked, dismissed, and told I was strong enough to manage on my own was peaceful. I spend my nights lying awake, Grandpa's words echoing in my head. "You were always more than enough. Never let anyone make you believe otherwise." But everyone's making me believe otherwise. Everyone's telling me I'm selfish, cruel, vindictive. That real family would share. That blood is thicker than water. And for a moment, just a brief, terrible moment, I wonder if they're right. Then I remember being 19 years old, working the closing shift at Tesco, coming home at 2 a.m. to study for exams while Emma posted Instagram photos from her university ski trip. I remember being 25, finally saving enough for a deposit on a flat, only to have Mum call and ask if I could lend Emma £5,000 for her business venture, a loan I never got back. I remember every birthday, every holiday, every family dinner where Emma was the star and I was the afterthought. No, I'm not giving her a penny, but I need to know why. I need to understand why our parents created this system in the first place. Why Emma was worth millions, and I was worth nothing. So I do something I probably shouldn't. I go back to our parents' house, the house that now belongs to the estate, that will be sold to pay Grandpa's debt, and I start digging. What I find changes everything. The house feels like a mausoleum, empty and echoing and full of ghosts. Emma and I both still have keys. Neither of us has been able to bring ourselves to clear out our parents' things yet. So I let myself in at 11 p.m. when I know Emma won't be here. She's posted on Instagram that she's at some friend's house, drinking wine and posting vague quotes about fake family. I'm not here for sentimentality. I'm here for answers. Dad's study is exactly as he left it, Immaculate, organized, everything in its place. He was obsessive about his paperwork, kept files on everything, labeled and color-coded. If there's evidence of why Emma was the favorite, it'll be here. I start with the obvious places. Filing cabinets, desk drawers, the bookshelf safe I know about because I helped Dad install it when I was 16. Nothing unusual at first. Tax returns, business contracts, insurance policies. Then I find the locked filing cabinet in the corner, the one with the serious padlock, the kind you'd use to protect something important. I don't have the key. Don't need it. I grab a screwdriver from Dad's toolbox and pry the thing open, not caring about the damage. Let the estate sale deal with it. Inside is a box labeled Personal Private in Mum's handwriting. My hands are shaking as I open it. Letters, financial documents, and my stomach drops, therapy session notes. The first letter I pull out is from Mum to Grandpa, dated October 2009. 6 months before Grandpa disappeared from our lives. Dear Robert, I'm begging you to reconsider enforcing the loan repayment right now. We simply can't afford it. Business has been difficult, and if people find out we're this deeply in debt, it will destroy us, the business, our reputation, everything we've built. The girls don't need to know their father is a failure. Please, just give us more time. My throat tightens, but it's the next paragraph that guts me. We're focusing all our resources on Emma because she needs it more. She's special, Robert. She has potential that needs nurturing, needs investment. But, my name, she's going to be fine no matter what. She's strong, independent, capable. She doesn't need our help the way Emma does. She'll succeed with or without us. There it is, in black and white, in my mother's handwriting. I wasn't overlooked by accident. It wasn't unconscious bias or unintentional favoritism. It was a deliberate, strategic decision. They genuinely believed Emma was more valuable, more deserving of investment. And I was what? Strong enough to be neglected? Capable enough that abandonment counted as confidence? I'm crying now, angry tears that blur my vision as I dig deeper into the box. Bank statements, dozens of them. Transfers to Emma dating back years. July 2019, £85,000 to E. Thompson, debt consolidation. March 2021, £120,000 to E. Thompson, business loan repayment. November 2023, £95,000 marked E. Thompson, urgent. The amounts are staggering. Hundreds of thousands of pounds, transferred over and over again, year after year. Emma wasn't just the favorite. She was a financial black hole, and Mom and Dad kept throwing money at her, convinced she'd eventually become the success story they could brag about at dinner parties. But it gets darker. At the bottom of the box, I find a folder of printed emails between Mum and Emma. I shouldn't read them. I know I shouldn't, but I can't stop myself. One from 2022 catches my eye. Mum, I know I said the last payment would be the final one, but I'm in trouble again. The investors pulled out and I owe £60,000 to the contractors. I'm going to lose everything. Please, I'll pay you back, I promise. Mum's response, of course, darling. I'll transfer it tomorrow. Don't worry, we'll always be here to catch you when you fall. That's what family is for. Always be here to catch Emma when she fell. But when I asked for help buying textbooks in my second year of university, I was told it would build character to work for them. Then I find the therapy notes, and everything gets even worse. They're from a therapist Mum saw in the last year of her life. Session summaries, neatly typed and filed. I scan through them, my heart pounding. Session dated March 2024, 8 months before the accident. Client expresses guilt about daughter favoritism. Acknowledges that eldest daughter has achieved financial stability and professional success independently, while youngest daughter continues to struggle despite significant financial support. Client fears judgment from family if truth becomes known about extent of bailouts provided to youngest. Client rationalizes continued support of youngest as investment in her potential rather than enabling behavior. They knew they were being unfair. They knew Emma was struggling because of their constant bailouts, not in spite of them. And they did it anyway. I'm sobbing now, full body sobs that shake my shoulders. Not because I'm sad, because I'm furious. Absolutely enraged. They knew. They knew they were destroying both of us. Emma by making her dependent, Me by making me feel worthless, and they chose to keep doing it because admitting the truth would be too embarrassing. There's another document at the bottom, a draft of their will from 2 years before they died. I unfold it with shaking hands. It's different from the final version. In this draft, I'm actually named as a beneficiary. I'm supposed to inherit one of the rental properties and £500,000. But there are handwritten notes in the margins in Dad's writing. Second thoughts on giving my name anything. She's proven she doesn't need our help. Emma needs the security more. Consider revising to give everything to E and write my name out entirely. She'll understand. She always understands. I'll understand. I always understand. That's what I was to them, the daughter who understood, who didn't complain, who didn't make demands, who was strong enough to be abandoned. I gather all the documents, the letters, the bank statements, the therapy notes, the draft will, and I stuff them into my bag. Emma needs to see these. Emma needs to know that our parents didn't just favor her, they broke her. They created a grown woman who genuinely doesn't know how to function without a safety net because they never let her fall. But as I'm leaving Dad's study, I pause at the door and look back at the destroyed filing cabinet, the scattered papers, the evidence of a family that was rotten at its core. And I realize something that makes my chest tighten. I don't want revenge anymore. I want the truth, and I want my sister back. I show up at Emma's flat at 8 a.m., unannounced, with the documents in a folder under my arm. When she opens the door, I barely recognize her. She looks like she hasn't slept in days, dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed and pulled into a messy knot, wearing the same clothes I saw her in 3 days ago. The flat behind her, the luxury Kensington place I've always envied, is in chaos. Half-packed boxes everywhere, bills scattered across the counter, moving tape and bubble wrap strewn across the floor. "What do you want?" she asks flatly. No anger now, just exhaustion. I push past her without asking permission, and she doesn't stop me. I drop the folder on her coffee table, the expensive glass one mom helped her pick out, and turn to face her. I went to the house last night, found these in Dad's study. She doesn't move to look at them, just stares at me with hollow eyes. "I don't care anymore," she says. "I don't care about the will, or the money, or any of it. I'm done." "You should care," I say, opening the folder and pulling out the bank statements. "Because you've been bleeding Mum and Dad dry for years, Emma. Hundreds of thousands of pounds. Bailout after bailout. And I got nothing. So yeah, I think we should talk about this." I expect her to deny it, to make excuses, to get angry and defensive the way she always does when confronted. Instead, she just laughs, this horrible, broken sound that makes my skin crawl. "You think I'm proud of that?" She sits heavily on the sofa, suddenly looking small. Younger than 31. "You think I wanted to be their charity case? I'm not prepared for this. For Emma being honest. For Emma being broken. My startup didn't just fail," she continues, staring at her hands. "I was £200,000 in debt from bad investments. From trusting the wrong business partners who promised me the world and then disappeared when things went south. I was 26 years old and facing bankruptcy. Actual bankruptcy. She's crying now, but not the dramatic tears from the lawyer's office. These are quiet, defeated tears. Mum and Dad bailed me out. But it came with strings. I had to do everything their way, follow their advice, let them control every decision. And then I tried again, started another business, and failed again, and they bailed me out again. And every single time, I felt more worthless, more like a failure, more like I couldn't do anything right without their money propping me up. I sit down slowly on the chair across from her, the anger draining out of me. "Meanwhile," she continues, her voice barely above a whisper, "you were out there building a life, earning respect, making your own way. Every time I mentioned you at dinner, it was with this tone of, I don't know, pride but also relief, like you'd turned out exactly how they hoped. And every time she mentioned me, it was with worry, with concern, with disappointment barely disguised as support. Emma, they gave you everything. They gave me money!" She cuts me off, her voice sharp. "They gave me things. But they never believed I could actually succeed. Do you understand that? Every pound they gave me was another vote of no confidence. Here's more money because we know you can't do it yourself. Here's another bailout because we know you'll fail again." She wipes her face roughly with her sleeve. But you? They didn't give you money because they believed you didn't need it. They believed you were strong enough, smart enough, capable enough to make it on your own. And you proved them right. You actually did it. I'm staring at her, seeing my sister, really seeing her, maybe for the first time in decades. You envied me? I asked, my voice cracking. Emma, I spent 33 years watching you get everything while I got nothing. How could you possibly? Because everything they gave me came with a price, she says. Control, manipulation, the constant reminder that I needed them because I was too incompetent to survive alone. You were free. You didn't owe them anything. You built your life on your own terms. She gestures around the flat, at the boxes, at the bills on the counter. This place, I can't afford it. Never could. Mom and Dad paid the rent. The Range Rover's being repossessed next week. The lease was in their names. I don't even have a credit card that isn't maxed out. I'm 31 years old, and I genuinely don't know how to pay my own bills. Her voice breaks. How pathetic is that? I open the folder and pull out Mom's letter to Grandpa. You need to read this. She takes it with shaking hands. I watch her face as she reads, watch the realization dawn, watch her understand that our parents' favoritism wasn't love, it was something much darker. When she finishes, she's crying harder. She actually wrote that. She's special, like I was some fragile thing that needed protecting. And I was strong enough to be abandoned. I add quietly. We sit in silence for a long moment, two sisters who were both damaged by parents who never understood that love isn't about choosing favorites. It's about seeing your children for who they actually are. The Range Rover's really being repossessed? I ask finally. She nods, grabbing a letter from the counter and handing it to me. It's from the finance company. 7 days to return the vehicle. And the flat. I have to be out by the end of the month. Can't afford it without them. I've been looking at studios in Zone 5, but even those are... She trails off. What about friends? People who could help? She laughs bitterly. You mean the friends who only knew me as the girl with money? The one who always picked up the tab? Always had a nice flat for parties? They've all gone quiet since the funeral. Funny how that works. I look at my sister, really look at her, and for the first time, I don't see the golden child who had everything. I see a woman who was never allowed to develop the skills to survive on her own because her parents were too busy protecting her. We were both destroyed by them, just in different ways. I have 5 million pounds, I say slowly. Grandpa left it to me. I know, she whispers. Congratulations. You deserve it. Do I? She looks up, surprised. Of course you do. You've earned everything you have. You don't need their money or their approval or anything from anyone. You're what they pretended I was, actually special. And that's when I realize Emma's not my enemy. She never was. We've been fighting each other for scraps of love from parents who didn't know how to love either of us properly. I don't know what to do, I admit. Everyone's telling me I should split the money with you, that it's the right thing to do. But Grandpa specifically, don't, Emma says firmly. Don't you dare give me money out of guilt. If you give me anything, I'll just blow through it like I've blown through everything else. I need to figure out how to stand on my own. Really stand. Not with a safety net, not with bailouts. On my own. What if you can't? She looks at me, and for the first time since we were kids, I see real determination in her eyes. Then I'll fail. And maybe that's what I need. To actually fail, actually hit bottom, and see if I can climb back up by myself. We sit there in the wreckage of her flat, two sisters trying to figure out how to be family when everything we thought we knew about family was a lie. And I realize something that makes my chest ache. I don't want to save Emma. That's what our parents did, and it destroyed her. But I don't want to abandon her either. I want something else entirely. I want us both to be free. I spend the next week in agony, torn between what everyone expects me to do and what I actually want to do. The family pressure is relentless. Aunt Carolyn calls twice more, each time more insistent that I have a moral duty to share with Emma. Blood is thicker than water, she keeps saying, as if that excuses 33 years of being treated as disposable. Marcus sends me articles about family values and biblical principles. Even my mom's old friend Janet, a woman I haven't spoken to since the funeral, messages me on Facebook to tell me that your mother would be disappointed in your selfishness. Would she? The woman who deliberately wrote me out of her will because she thought I was strong enough not to need her? The woman who told her therapist she felt guilty but kept doing it anyway? I'm not sure I care what she would think anymore. But then there's Emma. Since our conversation in her flat, something's shifted. She's not texting me angry messages or posting vague accusations on social media. She's just quiet, moving out of her flat, finding a studio in Zone 5, apparently applying for jobs that she's wildly overqualified for because she needs to start somewhere. She's trying, really trying, and that changes everything. I book an appointment with a therapist, the same one Grandpa mentioned in his letter as having treated him after Mom and Dad cut him off. She's retired now, but she agrees to see me as a favor to his memory. "Tell me what you're struggling with," she says in her calm, measured voice. "Everyone thinks I should split the money with my sister," I say. And I don't know if they're right or if I'm just afraid of being seen as the villain. She leans forward. "Let me ask you something. If you give Emma money, are you doing it because you genuinely want to help your sister or because you're afraid of being judged?" I don't have an answer. Not immediately. "And here's the harder question," she continues. "If you give Emma money, are you helping her or enabling her? Are you giving her a chance to rebuild? Or are you just becoming the next version of your parents, providing a safety net that prevents her from learning to stand?" That question sits in my chest like a stone. That night, I finally watched Grandpa's video. Harrison gave me the USB drive weeks ago, but I haven't been able to bring myself to look at it until now. I plug it into my laptop, and suddenly there he is, Grandpa Robert, sitting in his garden in the sunshine, looking old and tired but with the kind eyes I remember from childhood. "Hello, sweetheart," he says, and I start crying immediately. "If you're watching this, then I'm gone and you've learned the truth. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for you growing up. I tried, God knows I tried, but your parents wouldn't allow it." He pauses, looking directly into the camera, directly at me. "I want you to know that you were always enough. More than enough. You didn't need their money or their approval to be valuable. You proved that every single day of your life. Don't let anyone, not your parents' memory, not your sister, not anyone, make you believe otherwise." His expression softens. "I know there's going to be pressure on you to share this inheritance. People will tell you it's the right thing to do, that family comes first, that you owe Emma something. But here's what I learned in my 87 years. You don't owe anyone your self-worth. You don't owe anyone your peace." He leans forward, and I can see the emotion in his eyes. "This money is yours to do with as you choose, darling girl. If you want to give Emma every penny, that's your choice. If you want to keep it all, that's your choice too. If you want to burn it all and scatter the ashes, I'll support you from wherever I am. The point isn't the money, it's that you get to choose. Not your parents, not your sister, you." He smiles, and it's the smile I remember from bedtime stories when I was 8. "Whatever you decide, I'm proud of you. I was always proud of you. And I love you more than you'll ever know." The video ends. I sit in the dark, tears streaming down my face, and I finally know what I need to do. 3 days later, I call Emma and ask her to meet me at a cafe in Notting Hill, neutral ground, halfway between both our flats. She arrives looking nervous, wearing jeans and a jumper I recognize from years ago instead of her usual designer clothes. She's given those up, apparently. Sold most of them. I slide an envelope across the table. She stares at it like it might explode. "Before you open that," I say, "I need you to understand something. What's in there isn't about Mom and Dad. It's not about fixing the past or making up for their favoritism. It's about what kind of people we choose to be moving forward." She opens the envelope with shaking hands. Inside is a check for £500,000. Not half my inheritance. Not even close. But enough to give Emma a genuine fresh start, clear her debts, put a deposit on a modest flat, have a buffer while she figures out who she is without our parents' money. "There's also a letter," I say. She pulls it out and reads it silently. I've spent 3 days writing it, trying to get the words exactly right. "Emma, this isn't charity, and it's not guilt money. This is me refusing to let Mom and Dad's dysfunction define the rest of our lives. You were taught you couldn't succeed without them. I was taught I didn't deserve their help. Both messages were lies that hurt us in different ways. Use this to prove to yourself what you're capable of. But Emma, and I mean this with love, this is it. No more bailouts. No more safety nets. You either sink or swim on your own now. I believe you can swim. I hope you believe it too. When she finishes reading, tears are streaming down her face. She stares at the check for a long moment, and I'm not sure what she's going to do. Then she does something that surprises me. She folds the check carefully and puts it in her wallet, but she looks me dead in the eye and says, "I'll pay you back. I don't know when, but I will." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," she says firmly. "Because if I don't, I'm just taking more money I didn't earn. And I'm done being that person." We sit in silence for a moment, and then Emma says quietly, "I'm sorry. For everything. For the things I said after the will reading. For the social media posts. For accusing you of... God, I can't even say it. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry too, I say. For resenting you all these years when you were as trapped as I was. Just in a different cage. We're not suddenly best friends. We don't hug and cry and promise sisterly spa days and weekly brunches. But we're honest with each other, maybe for the first time in our adult lives. We agree to split the proceeds from the house sale 50-50, not because the will says so, but because it's a choice we're making. We agree to both continue therapy, separately and eventually maybe together. We agree to build a relationship on our own terms, not as the golden child and the forgotten one, but as two women trying to break free from the roles we were assigned. Over the next few months, things slowly begin to change. I use part of my inheritance to establish a scholarship fund in Grandpa Robert's name for students from low-income backgrounds, kids who, like me, have to work 3 jobs to afford university. It's not much, but it's something. A way of honoring the man who saw my worth when no one else did. Emma starts a business consultancy, this time with a proper business plan, realistic expectations, and her own money funding it. No parental bailouts, no safety nets. It's small, and she's terrified, but she's actually doing it, standing on her own. We meet for coffee every month. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes we argue about things that have nothing to do with Mom and Dad, but everything to do with 33 years of dysfunction. Sometimes Emma cancels because she's overwhelmed, and sometimes I cancel because I need space. But we keep showing up. That's the thing, we keep showing up. 6 months after the will reading, Emma texts me, "Just landed my first client. £15,000 contract. I did it without them." I cry when I read it. Happy tears, proud tears. Because here's what I've learned. Inheritance isn't just about money. It's about the emotional legacies we carry, the wounds we inherit from our parents, and the choice we have to either perpetuate those patterns or break them completely. Grandpa gave me financial security, yes. But more importantly, he gave me something our parents never did, validation that I mattered, that I was worth investing in, that I deserved to be seen. Emma and I are still figuring out what being sisters means when you strip away all the parental favoritism, all the resentment, all the dysfunction. It's messy and complicated and sometimes painful, but it's real. It's ours. It's a relationship we're choosing, not one that was forced on us by biology or obligation. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's more than enough.